it was just a dream back then of wouldn't it be awesome to work on a project like this, but it was no more than that, a dream. Anytime you work on a Catholic church, it's a sense of reverence. You're building God's home. I mean, that's where He stays. That's where you go and see and witness the Mass. That's where you get to see the consecration of the host. That's where really the pinnacle of any Catholic happens, is at Mass. For the district and for the society, this is the pinnacle project for the entire society. So it's important to everybody that's involved in that, not just the St. Mary's local parishioners, but everybody involved. My name is Patrick Schutter. I work for BHS Construction. I'm the president currently. I took that role about a year and a half ago. I've been working for BHS since 2003 and slowly kind of worked my way up, especially after college, into the superintendent and project management, and then ultimately the president role for BHS Construction. My mom is from St. Mary's, my dad is from Alma. Currently, my wife and I live south of Walmego, so growing up, visiting grandparents and aunts and uncles in St. Mary's, just seeing the campus there, it always intrigued me, and I never had an opportunity to go on campus until I was invited there by Bill Drew, and he made a special request my first trip there to show me the barn up on the northeast corner of the campus. And me and my brother have talked about that barn for years and years and years, about just seeing what was there and how it used to function, how it used to operate. Just a really interesting area and a great story behind all of what's going on in St. Mary's. I knew it was either I was going to be in the construction industry or I was probably going to become a priest. Was actually was one of the pathways that I knew that I wanted to investigate, and I don't know if I would have been a very good priest or not, but I know I really fell in love with the construction industry. That's every little boy's dream, to work on a project like this. It's a once in a lifetime project. I don't know what job will ever top this project. There probably won't be one. So I don't know if every job from here on out is going to be a disappointment to me. I doubt it. I love building too much, but really just generations and generations that are going to use this church. And I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't say that the most exciting part about this, which is the most exciting part about working on any Catholic church, is you're building God's home. I mean, that's where He stays. That's where you go and see and witness the Mass. That's where you get to see the consecration of the host. That's where really the pinnacle of any Catholic happens, is at Mass. So the fact that we get to build His home and for Him and for the parish is, I mean, really, that's probably the very top of the list. That's what the pinnacle of it is. So if we were building a small Catholic church, or a church of this size, that I doubt we'll ever build one larger than this, that's really the pinnacle, is you're building God's home. BHS is what's called a construction manager. We're also called a general contractor. We're really where the buck stops to get the project done the way an owner's asked it to be done. And that goes from the initial budget through final completion and even warranty period of the job. We've done I don't know how many churches or religious institution projects. Understanding those dynamics and really working through that with those owners is really fulfilling. You're working with people who are dedicating their time and donating their time to these projects, and you have a sense of partnership with them when you work through these projects with them. You really become part of that process with them. You're not just somebody that they've hired to do work for them. My predecessor, who's the CEO, Wayne Sloan, that was his philosophy as well. Become part of that project with them and really work through any of the challenges that might come up and really be that partner with the client. the architect that you've hired, David Hyatt's done a great job to date with how he's formed the plan. We take that and break it down into tons and tons of pieces. It's easy to get overwhelmed with the magnitude of this project. It's up to us to really break that down into components, and you've got really your site, you've got the structure, and then the finishes within that structure and how that all goes together. Bringing that information back, the cost and the quality of the type of construction we're talking about, bringing that back to the owner and saying, this is the cost for this is what you should expect for quality for this type of a product, and really making that a decision that gets made by everybody in the team that's putting it together. Hutton, BHS, and the ownership group that's really hands-on involved in what's going to get built, and then up to us and our vision of how those go together and get constructed together. Our involvement with the Immaculata project really started maybe a year or two ago. I knew that this was out there. I knew that it was coming up, and truthfully, BHS has grown a lot in the last few years with our own capabilities and staff. It was just a dream back then of wouldn't it be awesome to work on a project like this, but it was no more than that, a dream. In the spring, we were contacted by Bill Drew to work on Jogues Hall. Those conversations, along with the Jogues Hall project and the construction of that, really started opening that door up with Bill of talking about the Immaculata project, because the right staff on that job was paramount. Getting the guys on that job that could really handle a project of that size and of the pace that it needs to be constructed and the quality that's going to be expected at the end. And so that just brought up more and more conversation about it, which really spawned me to think more about teaming with Hutton, just because of the capacities that they can bring to a job like this, and still the value that we would provide to a job like this. It just seemed like a no-brainer to make that phone call to Andy at Hutton. Hutton and BHS have decided to team together to be the construction managers for this project, and were ultimately selected to do that role. So there's a lot of good dynamics that our team together brings to a process like this. You get that real intimate feel and knowledge of the local subcontractor trades, what people are capable of and what they aren't. With Hutton, you get a lot of background expertise and processes that BHS just doesn't offer, because those sizes of projects aren't in the local area. So 3D imaging technology, BIM technology, on staff architecture firms or architects that can really look through details is what Hutton brings to the table. And really having that collaboration with the owner, we bring the best of both worlds. A lot of exterior knowledge with Hutton on statewide subs that can build a project of this size no problem, and a lot of intimate knowledge of the local sub-trades of how can we incorporate them into this to provide really good high quality and good cost for the process that's getting done. So currently in process, and this is early in September, we've got the architect and engineer set of plans, which would be called a design development set. It's almost midway through the design. And what we've done right now is we've dedicated an amount of time, which is about a month and a half, that Hutton and BHS are putting together a very, very detailed line item estimate with either real-time budgets and allowances for what we know and what we don't know, to put a full estimate package together. There's already been done a what's called a schematic design or a conceptual estimate done by David Eddy with Franz and Pittman, and he also works for the society as well. He's done what's called a conceptual estimate. So we're one step past that, and our task is by the 27th of September having a full-on design development estimate put together that's in collaboration with discussions of details with the architect, with subcontractors to get some of their input for what local costing would be for the project. And then also those line item estimates allow us for more discussion points later on of, well, this stone costs this amount versus this brick costs this amount on an exterior of the church. Or on the interior, well, we can do this square footage of stone, or we can do this square footage of marble. It allows that process to really hone in on the final expectation moving into the final guaranteed maximum price, which right now we're shooting for March timeframe for that price to be set. This initial estimate is really what's going to set the stage for how all the rest of the design, the finishes, and how the plans get completed with the architect and engineering firms of what's in that final design. Also, it allows this feedback for the final cost to go back with the ownership group to go, this is what's we want to spend money on. I think we can not spend money in these areas, or we can wait to spend money on those areas depending on financing and how the fundraising process is going. It really gives them all the tools that they need to make decisions on where to spend the dollars or not spend the dollars. For the district and for the society, this is the pinnacle project for the entire society. So it's important to everybody that's involved in that, not just the St. Mary's local parishioners, but everybody involved. Father Rutledge, he's got a job to do. He's trying to service his parish the way he needs to service it. And it's really has been a pleasure working with Father Rutledge. Not only does he have a great first name, but he also has a really great sense of humor too. That's probably the best part of any project, is working with the team that you're working with. And between Father Wagner and Father Rutledge, Bill Drew, the architect team with David Hyatt and Risa, and even we've got a chance now to work in more detail with the structural engineer and the electrical engineer as we're going through the budgeting. It's just been a pleasure. Everybody that's working on this project, it makes it so exciting because everybody's so excited about this project. So attending the kickoff event on June 15th, my first impression was I agreed to Bill Drew that I would go attend it. I was excited about going. I had no idea what we were going to talk about or how big of an event it was. The biggest impact of that whole evening was when they showed the rendering of the Immaculata and the gasp that you heard in the room. That was the biggest impact. And I'll never forget that throughout the process of this, is that's what we're charged with. We're charged with fulfilling what that gasp from everybody that was a parishioner in that room felt and desired for this project to be. The Immaculata, to fulfill really that expectation. We know what we're tasked with. Anytime you work on a Catholic church, it's a sense of reverence. Really from day one. Obviously a renovation where you've had a consecrated host in the church before is a little bit different than a new church, but the reverence is still the same. You're in a sacred place. It's going to be a sacred place. It's where people are there to worship. What's interesting about that is non-Catholics, you notice the same thing out of them. One of our employees was working on $7, where we completely remodeled the entire church from head to toe, and he's worked on I don't know how many different projects. He's worked here since the 80s. He said there's been no project that's touched him more than that project, and he's not Catholic. But to hear him say that, and then hear other comments from subcontractors that they knew where they were working even without really maybe understanding the true presence. So watching subcontractors work on a Catholic church project is even, it's fun to watch just their interaction and again, understanding that reverence of where they're working and what they're doing. We had on $7, Father Carey really loves to tell this story. He walked in after we had removed all the scaffolding and all the liturgical painting was done up on the ceiling, and the ceiling in there is just beautiful. We actually replastered the entire thing and then had a liturgical artist come in and do all the liturgical artwork. So all that just got removed. Father Carey walks in, and the flooring layer is working on the flooring that's going on the project. And the flooring layer, who likes to joke too, but he was dead serious when he said this. He goes, Father Carey, you're not going to be looking up at the ceiling. After I get done with these floors, they're going to look so good. That's the type of, subcontractors we want working on a project like this. But that's the sort of reverence that even they feel throughout, all of our staff and their own staff. That's the type of feeling that everybody has on a project of this scale, like the Immaculata, and furthermore, just a Catholic church project.